How y'all doing? I'm Michael, joined by Alex as always.
How's it going?
And this is another episode of Fallin Thru Plotholes, a podcast about video game plot lines and how they have a tendency to go off the rails. And Alex, we have an emergency episode today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I had plans to do an entirely different topic this week.
Okay.
And then something happened that completely derailed it in a way that I immediately fell into an incredible rabbit hole about a side of video games that I found that I am incredibly unfamiliar with. Like, to the point of, I basically have no knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is like uncharted territory from like start to finish.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's going to end up with us doing like a 3-part episode on something that, honestly, when I tell you what it is, you're probably going to be like, how is this going to be a 3-part episode? Like, it got to the point where I'm like, I normally put like theme music in front of like, from like whatever game we're going to be doing is like the intro and outro music to each episode. I might just do a siren.
Okay. Okay.
like a hurricane siren, because that's like how like last minute, like I need to kind of just do this now. This episode's going to be. But before we get into that, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Good. I'm also doing pretty good with Christmas kind of coming up and whatnot, getting like last minute Christmas shopping out of the way.
Yep.
I'm about to blow town in roughly about a week to go down to Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which means that the plan is that hopefully we will get all of this recorded before all that gets done. We might not. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
And then we'll likely have a little bit of a Christmas break before we come back next year with more episodes. That will hopefully be as wild as this one is going to be today. So, Alex, I don't really have like a good opening like I normally do, where I kind of like try to like obfuscate what it is and lead you down to a path and then be like, oh no, it's actually this.
Right. Okay.
So I'm just going to ask you, Alex, what do you know about Silent Hill Ascension?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I'm guessing you're familiar.
Man. Okay, so is Silent Hill Ascension the topic of this series of episodes?
Yes.
Okay. So I gotta say, this is maybe the most insanely appropriate telling thing that Konami could have possibly done. Because things in the Western video game industry are awful rough right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going well. Things in the Japanese video game industry seem to be doing pretty okay.
Yeah.
There's kind of like a massive, like mobile gacha explosion that's taking over and driving all of the money towards putting as many slot machines on as many kids' phones as you possibly can with cute anime girls on them.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, like, the old guard is doing pretty well. Capcom is in, like, the best place they've been since, I would argue, the PS2 or even PS1 era.
Yeah.
Nintendo is chugging along. You know, their console's getting a little old, but they're still putting out some pretty good hits. They had I think Breath of the Wild just won the video game awards for Best Action Adventure Game.
Tears of the Kingdom, but yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom. And it's an incredible game. Sega is actually seeming to put out some video game, like they're developing video games now.
Mm-hmm.
Square Enix is sort of doing what Square Enix does and making these massive, impressive RPGs that everyone fawns over. And, you know, in general, people are, I would describe it as, gathering around the table and celebrating the good times. And then Konami, the drunken bum of the Japanese video game industry, just stumbles in and vomits some half-ass port of Metal Gear and this fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, Konami's back! And everyone's like, no, you aren't.
We're back in AAA games
No,
now.
you aren't.
Yeah, like, just like Koei Tecmo from across the table yells like, with what developers are like, Bloober Team!
Like, we're supposed to trust you with remaking Silent Hill 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3, two of the best video games you ever made, and this is your introduction to that effort?
Yeah, it's not promising.
No.
Not at all. Not at all. And Alex, would you be surprised to learn that Silent Hill Ascension has been just an absolute mess from the second it launched on October 31st?
No, I would not. I mean, everyone knew it was not going to go well.
Yeah.
The moment they announced this, everyone knew it was a bad idea. But, like, I don't know. I guess there was some fleeting hope.
As we'll get into this, I think there's going to be two groups of people who thought that this is going to go incredibly well. One is going to be the developers behind Ascension, Genvid, and the other is going to be the VC money that's behind Genvid. Nobody else, really.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, have you been, like, I guess, watching any of Silent Hill Ascension?
No.
Of course not. Why would you?
I would sooner watch Twisted Metal.
Yeah, which is funny because you can watch this for free. You just
No, I would rather pay to watch Twisted Metal.
I don't blame you. It's at least a coherent show. Before we get into this, like well, actually, you know what? Let's just kind of describe what even Silent Hill Ascension is.
Yes.
So, Silent Hill Ascension is a Genvid interactive series that takes place in the Silent Hill universe. This is officially canon and part of Silent Hill. Like, it's literally the next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least a side story. They haven't quite been clear. They've messaged both ways, actually, with this.
Right.
In it, a TV show plays out where viewers can control the outcome, either via voting for outcomes, doing puzzles outside of the show, or doing community QuickTime events that happen during the episode, usually right at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
New content comes out every Monday through Friday in 7 to 11 minute chunks or so that is compiled into a new episode at the end of every week. This is actually a change. It used to be actually like 7 days a week until people said, this is too much. Can you please stop?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, sure, why not? Now, it's intended to run over 6 months, and depending on how the community engages with the product, the story and ending will play out differently over that period of time. It's going to be the first of what's going to be 4 separate Silent Hill projects that are coming out over the next few years.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, somehow. Including the Silent Hill 2 remake, Silent Hill Townfall, and Silent Hill F. And of course, the Silent Hill movie also.
Oh, right. The reason we're actually doing all this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, this premiered on October 31st of 2023. And I completely missed it, along with what seemed to be like the greater video game community at large.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect this is because it was kind of drowned out by either all the great video games that are out there or the continuously bad news coming out of the video game industry.
Yeah.
Like, needless to say, I was unaware this even existed until I saw a video posted on Twitter by a content creator known as Voidburr. So I'm going to just pull this up and show it to you, Alex.
Okay.
Wait! Don't shoot! Please!
What are you doing out here? You could have been killed.
I'm just foraging for wild berries. I swear. I stumbled on a great patch of rowan berries over here.
Have you seen anything unusual out here?
Now that you mention it, I have seen some strange things out in these woods. You? I've been rooting for berries and other things for several seasons now. I like to make jams. I sell them in town. I could bring you some. Maybe you and your family would like that.
You should keep moving. You're on my property.
Well, I am sorry for that. I guess I'll just be on my way then.
So, yeah. Once again, I'll have audio like of the scene in the episode, but essentially what happens there is that one of the characters in the story with a shotgun just kind of like happens upon a dude who's just looking for some berries while they're like basically spooky things are happening in the Silent Hill universe. And Berry Man, instead of like being alarmed or upset that he's being held up by shotgun point, is like, oh, there's a patch of berries over here. I just like making jams. Do you want jams? And the guy's like, hey, is there something, have you seen weird things going on? And he's like, you? Anyways, do you want jams? Like, it is incredibly stilted. Like,
there's a few things about this. First of all, I did not realize the show was CGI. I thought it was live action.
Oh no, it is CGI.
Okay, and just really bad CGI on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is an ugly looking show.
Yeah, no, it's a good PlayStation 3 era graphics going on there
Yeah.
at best.
That show does not look like it has money.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. And like the way that the people speak to each other and that they're like animated and whatnot, like the very stilted way, like when the guy like says, "Oh yeah, the thing that I saw that the things that I'm seeing out here are weird," like he points out the guy holding him up a shotgun. It's like, "Oh well, you." But it's like there's like a weird pause between it,
Right.
before then he just starts talking about jams for absolutely no reason.
Right. So congratulations, you have simulated the Silent Hill cinematic experience perfectly.
Yes.
Having weird, stilted people talking about nonsense and then leaving without any cause or furthering the plot. Perfect. No notes. However, it does highlight that, like, there is this weird charm with which the Silent Hill video games do that. That is difficult to replicate and is not replicated here.
It absolutely is not. No.
Like, when people in certainly, I would say the first 3 Silent Hill games do it, it's like deeply unsettling how inhuman or uncannily they're acting. And here it's like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, and let me assure you, Alex, that is not just the only scene where that like happens. Like there is like literally the most recent episode that came out, like somebody posted a clip from it, like literally just the night before the recording of this episode, where 2 people fight off like a bat monster in like a very wooden way, and then the second the bat monster flies away, the other lady's like, "We should make out." And it's like, wait, what? Not the time. You almost got eaten by a bat monster that didn't actually seem that interested in eating you. Like, so like this happens all throughout this entire thing. And so like Voidberger sent this tweet out, and this alongside other tweets and like some mild accusations that, boy, this seems like it's AI generated, was enough for it to kind of go viral on Twitter, or at least as viral as anything can go on Twitter nowadays.
Right.
And this started to lead other people to wonder if the dialogue and acting were AI generated. Enough so that the CEO of Genvid, the company that's behind Ascension, one Jacob Navik, got on Twitter to reiterate, quote, "Every word in Ascension was written by real people, many of whom have long-running careers in writing, including Telltale titles, Pixar titles, God of War Ragnarok, Resident Evil Village, and more. Across our 100,000 plus words, 0 are authored by LLMs or AI, and all are from dedicated work of a talented team," end quote. So this was immediately followed up with another tweet by, I believe it was Bob Vids, who basically noted that Navik had actually had tweets up previously where he discussed at least testing AI-driven content in Ascension. Which did force Navik to further clarify that quote with, quote, "Most of the test work was done in 2021. None of that work ended up being used on this or other projects. We have a team of animators working on the project, a team of writers who wrote the scripts, and narrative designers who made the choices. Suggesting otherwise is just a veiled insult to the talented humans who have worked hard to create something they are proud of," end quote. This was, by the way, about 4 weeks or so into what's going to be a 6-month-long project. So when you already have the CEO having to get on Twitter to basically do damage control about like, no, listen, it only sounds like it's AI.
we actually paid real people to make dialogue and animations this bad.
Yeah, which is like, I'm not sure if that's actually better, honestly.
I don't. I have to assume if the talent they have is what he described, those people must have been paid very little money.
Yeah, that or they're just not bringing their A game. Maybe this is like a side gig or something. Because yeah, it's not great. It is not great. And Alex, it was at this point that Silent Hill Ascension went from something I barely knew existed to something I absolutely had to learn more about. And what I learned was not only very dumb, but also a side of video games that I was only tangentially aware of. So that's what we're going to be doing these next 3 weeks or so. We're going to be discussing not only Silent Hill Ascension, but honestly, who Genvid even is. Because honestly, I think what Genvid is may be a little bit more fascinating than Silent Hill.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So yeah, the first 2 episodes we're going to be just kind of going over, like this episode's basically going to be just like more or less about Genvid. Next episode we're going to get into like what they developed, including Silent Hill Ascension, and then we'll finish up the 3rd episode with the plot up to, I guess technically be about 6 weeks in by the time we record that. Which hopefully something interesting will happen in there other than vaguely swinging a stick at bat monsters. No guarantees, honestly.
No, honestly, no.
So we just need to start talking about why this is even a thing. And to even get to the point where a random company like Genvid even got a chance to make this in the first place, we have to start from the beginning. And that means we have to talk about Silent Hill, the franchise.
It just occurred to me, we haven't talked about Silent Hill on this podcast, have we?
We never have.
Oh, yeah. Boy.
Now, we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of each game or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because, the plan was I was going to, at some point, go over this franchise because it is a very influential franchise.
It is, yes.
Not only in video games, but, like, in wider media. A lot of things in Stranger Things, for instance, like the Upside Down, are inspired by the town of Silent Hill that's in the games. So it's a very important game. We obviously are going to talk about it at some point, but we're skipping to the end right now because, once again, this is just incredibly weird. But we do need to talk about it at least a little bit because I think it does inform why Genvid got their hands on this in the first place.
Right.
So Silent Hill is a franchise from legendary video game developer and publisher Konami. The first game was published in 1999 for the PlayStation, and it's a survival horror game and direct competitor to Capcom's own Resident Evil. While they're both pretty similar on their face, Silent Hill is a much more methodical and psychological horror game, as opposed to the more action-oriented Resident Evil. A difference that only gets far more stark as both franchises get new titles over the coming decade or so when they're both respectively released. And it makes sense. Like, even like the main characters belie this difference. Like, Chris Redfield is a special forces cop, for instance. While as the main character in Silent Hill, whose name I'm unfortunately forgetting.
It's Harry Mason, I think.
Harry Mason, thank you. He's an everyman in that one. Silent Hill overall wasn't the most popular Konami franchise out there. This is going to sound bad, but this is what I got. A Reddit post from 5 years ago that does link to Konami financials, but unfortunately the page now just goes to like Konami's just general website, claims that the series sold over 9 million games. And I have seen other more credible sources that say it sold roughly about 8.4 million. The point is, that's not exactly a whole lot of sales for a series that has 8 main games and a bunch of mobile spin-offs and re-releases.
It is not. And I have also heard, I do not have a source for this, so take it with a grain of salt, but what I've been told is that every game in the series sold worse than the one before it.
Yeah, and I could believe that, given the direction that series goes. Like, in like the different iterations it has, and like how it gets shuffled off, so like from Team Silent or whatever Team Silent actually was to like Western developers by the time you get to Downpour. Yeah, they knew they had something that gamers loved, but they had no idea like how to actually market it to a wider audience. It's really strange, and it's honestly too bad because I think that pretty much every Silent Hill game is interesting, at least in some respects. Even the weird one that came out for the Nintendo Wii. Now, while it doesn't have like raw sales to back it up, as I've already mentioned, it does have a significant amount of cultural cachet that honestly outstrips its success. I was a Resident Evil guy, and I know honestly a shocking amount about the plot and gameplay of nearly every one of these games, despite never having played a single one. Games such as Silent Hill 2 regularly find their way onto like top games of all time lists. And it's the one Konami franchise that has successfully made its way out of video games. There are 2 mildly successful horror films, released in 2006 and 2012, with a 3rd one on the way.
One of them is mildly okay.
Yeah, I heard that first one is A-okay.
It's all right.
It's a series that even non-gamers know about. My girlfriend is not a big fan of video games, but she knew what Silent Hill was before I even told her about it. That being said, by 2014, the series was effectively dead.
Yeah.
The last game to come out, Silent Hill Downpour for the PlayStation 3, was not particularly well received, and honestly, had the series ended there, we probably wouldn't be talking about this today. It probably still would be dead.
Right. But that's not the Konami way.
It's not the Konami way, because something's going to come out in 2014 that's going to supercharge the fandom. PT.
God damn it. it has been almost 10 years and it still hurts.
Yeah, right? Oh,
PT
man.
was so cool.
It was so cool. And I really wish we had the time to get into the weirdness of PT.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can tell you is that it was a free-to-play experience that was a teaser for a larger Silent Hill game, where you basically walk through an ever-changing house in first person while a ghost woman chases you. I'm hilariously underselling it,
Yes.
but it was tense as hell, man.
It was the scariest experience to come out of video games in like nearly a decade.
Yeah.
It was terrifying, even watching it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's how I consumed it. I watched other people play it, and I was like, I'm not sure if I could deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically everyone I knew who messed with that experience was like, this thing is just super cool. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with this. There is so much potential behind this.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helped that this playable teaser was directed by famed game designer Hideo Kojima of Metal Gear Solid fame, and film director Guillermo del Toro was also involved as well. And it was going to be followed up with a new game called Silent Hills that these two were going to be involved in.
Yep.
People were psyched. Unfortunately, two things are going to happen that's going to prevent this from coming out. First is that Konami and Kojima are going to have a big old falling out.
Sure are.
Now, I don't believe that the details of it have ever been confirmed, but the long and short that I have heard, the rumors anyways, is that Kojima, famous for consistently going over budget, basically went over budget one last time with Metal Gear Solid 5, his most recent and final game for Konami.
Mm-hmm.
And combine that with Konami finally reaching the end of a years-long process of moving away from AAA game development, it was basically like, okay, we need to just stop doing this entirely.
Yeah. That rumor or speculation seems pretty cromulent, because oh boy, Metal Gear 5 was a development.
It was. It is. I've mentioned it before on this podcast. It is my favorite unfinished game I've ever played.
I would agree with that, yes.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, you see at the point where the money kind of ran out, and they said, okay, Kojima, you need to kind of just get on out of here.
Yep.
And you combine that with the fact that Konami after that was like, we're going to just refocus our business on more of the arcade and entertainment, other entertainment venues that we have in our portfolio. Mm-hmm. That basically meant there was zero interest in making any more big budget video game experiences, and so Silent Hills was dead. However, there was a slight problem with this. And that problem was, one, they made something that generated a ton of hype, and they attached a video game director that was known for surprise reveals and obfuscation and trickery himself.
Right.
On top of that, attached to a franchise that was also kind of known for that in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so now people were like, oh, wait, no, we got to just look at the tea leaves. Obviously, I divined that Kojima is going to come back, and in 2017, Silent Hills is actually going to come out alongside the real Metal Gear Solid 5 and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, God. Just the amount of baseless blind hope that came out of the whole thing.
That persisted for a good 5 to, I think actually as late as 8 years. You're still seeing posts about no, listen, any day now, the real Metal Gear will come out. Yeah, and so it ended up taking up this sort of weird mythical presence, right? This Silent Hill game that's going to happen, or the new Metal Gear Solid, or what have you. And there would just be constant rumors that once again, Konami's going to make it happen. And of course, this never did happen.
Nope.
Konami just instead sort of stopped making console games for the most part. But once again, people kept that flame alive. And I think this is the reason why in October of 2022, when Konami was starting to be faced with some challenging economic conditions in the arcade and entertainment business as a whole,
right,
they decided, what if we started making video games again?
Yeah, I know we burned that house to the ground, but what if we just rebuild it?
Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll just...
I know we tarnished all the goodwill we had in the industry, all of it. Mm-hmm. But come on!
They're looking over at Square and Capcom doing that sort of the same a couple of years ago and being man.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah, we'll do it the hard way, but we'll get there. It'll be fine.
We just need to make one good game.
Just one good game.
Just one.
And by us make it, I mean we've basically drained all of our studios of talent that's been known for making AAA games, and so we're going to have to farm all our IPs out to third-party companies.
Yeah.
So, hope they're good.
But yeah, we'll pick really good third-party companies, right?
No, but hey. Okay, well, they have Way Forward for Contra, so they at least have that.
Okay, yeah, that's something.
Yeah, they've even proven they can actually make a good Contra game, so
yeah,
it works. So yeah, October 2022, Konami decided we're making games again. And on top of games in the Metal Gear Solid series that they announced, Konami announced that they were going to go hard into bringing back Silent Hill for fans with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 separate projects.
So this is the part I don't understand from Konami's own standpoint is, hey, our financials are in trouble. Let's get into video games to make money. Okay, first of all, stupid idea.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, okay, so you picked the franchise that has historically basically lost you money to do this?
Yeah, the one that, yes, wider cultural cachet, but clearly every time you tried to make a game of it has had maybe at best like
middling profits.
Yeah, hit a niche audience.
Yeah, like you have never been able to make Silent Hill blow up.
No, and now we're going to make 5 of them, or at least 5 projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. A very interesting choice that they decided to make. And if I remember correctly, the response around that time was also like, okay, that's an interesting choice. Like, the Silent Hill fans were like, man, we feasting tonight. Everyone else was like, you got a lot of other franchises you could lead on. Like, what about Castlevania?
Castlevania, Metal Gear, Contra has, like, nostalgic cash.
Mm-hmm.
But
it is consistently funny to me that they are bringing back like Metal Gear games, Contra games, Silent Hill games, but like Castlevania, which has a very successful Netflix show, like we're just gonna stick with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. We don't need to capitalize on that one.
Iga must have farted in someone's face on the board.
Yeah,
because there was like a personal level of disregard for Castlevania at Konami.
Like the last meeting that Iga was ever involved in, he just walked into like Konami's board of directors and just whipped someone with his whip that he always carries around. And they said, "Well, hell no, we ain't doing anything with whips anymore." Yeah, right. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's wild.
So yeah, 5 separate projects: a new film, a remake of Silent Hill 2, a potential prequel in Silent Hill F, a sequel in Silent Hill Townfall, and of course, Silent Hill Ascension, a game that promised a more community experience that promised players could face their trauma together. That is literally how their trailer ends, is face your trauma together in Silent Hill Ascension.
It doesn't make any sense. Nothing about this project in particular makes any sense.
It doesn't. Oh man, I really can't wait to get to next episode and talk about how their website is designed, and like how they're monetizing the thing. Talk to you about legendary yellow shirts. It's great. It's great. So there's one slight problem with this, and it's that with these announcements is that Konami had kind of once again made a hard exit from the space, and they kind of didn't have developers to actually make these games, so they had a contract out. Downfall was going to be developed by Annapurna.
Okay.
F was going to be done by No Code.
F, by the way, sorry, F is the wildest one. That one's not going to make them any money. And will probably be the best project of this roster.
It's honestly the most interesting, given that it's like 1960s, like Japan.
Right.
Like, yeah, no, okay, I'm kind of down with that.
And it's not really directed by someone who is famous for like exceedingly fucked up and traumatic visual novels.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it is easily going to be the most interesting of all these projects.
Yes.
And yeah, it's going to sell like 10 copies, almost undoubtedly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have that. You have Silent Hill 2, which is going to be done by Bloober Team, which nobody was happy about that one.
No, it's not. But hey, Konami has a long and proud history of mismanaging Silent Hill 2's legacy, so...
Yeah, so honestly, it only makes sense that Bloober Team's involved. So we have all that, and that's how we get the relatively unknown studio Genvid developing Silent Hill Ascension. Now, if you're a little plugged into the industry, you recognize most of these developers, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Except for Genvid. Like, I imagine you have no idea who they are, Alex.
No idea. But they sound like a company that would have made FMV games in the 90s.
Oh, buddy, you are not far off. You are not far off. It's
yeah, look at it. All the signs are there.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, it really, really is. Oh, when we talk about the games they have made next week, you are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, these could be on the Sega CD."
Yeah.
You would not be wrong.
It's just a new generation of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Genvid's going to be in charge of this, and this, combined with the promise to make a game where you won't experience the fear alone, but rather interact with a global audience that you'll have direct and permanent influence over the story and shape of Silent Hill canon, that made me very interested in one thing. Who the hell's Genvid? Well, good news, Alex. I have listened to more podcasts and PowerPoint presentations than I care to ever want to listen to in order to find out this answer.
Who are these people making this terrible show?
So, Genvid is a startup that was founded in 2016 by a group of 4 video game industry vets. The 3 most prominent being Jacob Navik, Chris Cataldi, and Fabian Ninolas. I'm probably mispronouncing that last name, and I do apologize. At least 3 of these men were former members of Shinra Technologies. You remember Shinra Technologies?
No. Oh, I can only think of the evil corporation from Final Fantasy VII. I can't think of the evil corporation from our real lives.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to tell you about the evil corporation from our real lives that lasted all of 2 years.
Yay.
So, Shinra Technologies had Navik as executive vice president. Cataldi was director of business development, and then Nolas was director of technology there.
Mm-hmm.
And Genvid Technologies was Square Enix's attempt at getting into the cloud gaming space in 2014.
That's so good. Oh, what an amazing way to name your terrible company.
It really is. It's like both inspired and you know it's going to be cursed.
Yeah. Yeah, that someone that just said, I hate this initiative, I'm going to doom it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Also, it's really funny because I've actually been trying to avoid doing any episodes about Square Enix for a little bit because, we've done quite a few that have involved them. And they're always like kind of a dumpster fire.
Right.
The company, not the episodes.
Right.
And I was very pleased, both pleased and displeased to find that this episode's like, nah, man, Square Enix was involved, man.
The fire always spreads.
It always spreads.
Square Enix never stays self-contained.
It never does, and it's amazing. So, this company was formed in 2014, and it was led by former president of Square Enix, Yoichi Wada, and it lasted all 2 years before losing 2 billion yen and being closed in 2016. Now, undeterred by this abject failure, these 3 formed Genvid, a company whose name comes from the Latin root words gen, meaning birth, and vid, meaning viewing. Unfortunately for us, their name does not literally mean they're going to just make a series of birthing videos for like TLC or something, but rather they had a loftier goal, dethroning Twitch when it came to presenting esports.
Wow.
Yes. like starting a new religion and like starting a new church and then saying we're going to stab God. Mm-hmm. They decided we're going to form a new startup and dethrone Twitch. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, I would ask you where you want your tombstone, but at this point, you're just going to be thrown in the mass grave of people who've tried that.
Yep. Yeah, and to be fair, they are still an ongoing concern, and they do seem to be doing decently well for ourselves, but we are getting ahead of ourselves. So, it should also be noted that when he formed his company, Wada joined as an advisor, so he's...
Okay. Great.
Square Enix is still going strong all throughout this. So, in a TechCrunch article published in October 2016 by Don Basile titled Tech Companies and the Global Rise of Esports, Basile goes on to describe Genvid's ambitions as such, quote, recently emerged from stealth mode, startup Genvid Technologies has the lofty goal of creating revolutionary esports broadcast by bringing interactive elements and multiple camera angles into live stream games. Co-founder Jacob Navik hopes to hook a whole new audience with more compelling broadcast and greater opportunities to monetize competitions. The challenge is that video games are built with players rather than spectators in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Genvid hopes to solve this problem by enabling developers to control camera angles during live stream games, as if they were in the editing booth at major sporting events. This would create a more compelling narrative with built-in storytelling and emotion, something that would appeal to sponsors, advertisers, and viewers. Genvid hopes to challenge Twitch, the leading streaming platform for esports, which has a staggering 45 million monthly viewers. Twitch's single camera's perspective, Navik says, is like watching a Major League Baseball game from the viewpoint of a GoPro camera strapped to a player's back. It's pretty easy to see the huge potential for profit if Genvid is successful with its current free demo phase and upcoming beta test with esports companies. End quote.
Okay, so very interesting. I understand the sales pitch.
Mm-hmm.
They're not wrong. I don't disagree with that. Games are designed for single camera, and that kind of inherently makes esports broadcasting difficult.
Yes.
I think that is definitely true. How are they intending to get developers to sign on to this? Because it's the developers who have to implement into their game for additional effort those multiple camera angles.
Wow, Alex, you've just discovered the problem. Yeah, this actually doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
You see, because first off, just as you mentioned, developers would have to license out this technology and put it into their games.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The second is that while the idea of this technology that would allow greater control over what people could see in-game is interesting, by 2016, esports was already big enough that developers had implemented this stuff in their games or had figured out workarounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take Rocket League. I was watching an old Rocket League match from 2015 where they had an overhead camera that somebody could control and look at the action. Fighting games largely don't need this with a limited playfield. And even older games like Team Fortress 2, you could fake it by just switching between player views to give spectators different views of the action. It's on its face an idea that's just dead in the water.
Yeah.
It does little to address how they are going to actually take on Twitch, a streaming service that doesn't just dabble in esports. And also, one where Twitch doesn't need to necessarily do anything about this. This is all going to be developer side. They just have to have the servers to where you could broadcast too. So, like, how this doesn't affect them at all.
Yeah, no.
So, now, it's clear they realized this early on too. So, they're like, we're going to pivot to something else, actually.
Okay.
As I learned later, not completely, but they are going to pivot to something else. Something similar, but different. They're going to take that control meant for companies and share it with the players. And to do that, they're going to create a new technology. Massively interactive live events, or MILES for short. So, Alex, you're probably asking, what is a mile?
Yeah, let's say that I'm asking, what is that?
Well, good news! I sat through a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, God.
So, we're going to start with what Genvid thinks it is.
Okay.
So, in a presentation given at Beyond Games 2021, a digital conference where companies talked about how best they could use things like the blockchain, AI, and the metaverse and other Web3 concepts into their products, Chris Cataldi broke down what this is. It's a technology that will allow viewers to become participants in the content and beyond. The idea behind this is that they believe people like communal experiences and having participation in live events, but that is at odds with how entertainment is structured nowadays. He gives the example of how entertainment is either lean in, which is like movies and TV, or lean back, which is movies or TV, or others are lean in, like video games and VR. MILES attempt to bridge the gap by offering an experience that caters to both. And then he gives this following example, quote, "Picture a virtual nature documentary where you control the weather and number and behavior of predators, or a live music festival where your input decides who plays next.
What?
Your creativity is the limit," end quote.
Okay. First of all, your creativity is not the limit. The limit is the pooled creativity of however many millions of people are watching this. Second of all, both of those examples sound awful.
Yes. Yeah, like, you can already see the flaws, like, kind of bubbling up from here, right?
Yeah.
And I think you just kind of, like, touched on it. It's like, but if you're giving this to a million people at once, like, how is anybody going to decide who's going to be up next on, like, the music show or whatnot?
Right. That's just voting.
Yeah, it's just voting, which I hate to say this, we could already do that in video games.
Yeah. And TV. Survivor has existed for a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, weird, huh?
Huh. Funny.
Yeah.
Also, that nature documentary you're talking about isn't a documentary. It's a simulation. You're describing a video game.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But what if you're describing a video game where, once again, you have millions of people who can make the decision of, let's put three more tigers in the scene?
Then you have a video game you can't control.
Yep.
Like, this sounds bad.
It does. It sounds really bad, doesn't it? Well, Alex, it's not going to get any better.
Oh, good. So, like, I feel like these aren't even... I don't think Ascension or anything Genvid did is the first attempt at, like, democratizing narrative experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And they never work. It never works.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I'm gonna share this with you, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna somehow make it worse.
Oh, good.
Because I'll leave it for next episode how exactly they make it worse, but they're going to somehow make it worse. And even more pointless.
Oh,
but yeah,
God.
you're totally right. Because yeah, what's going to happen is that even if you do vote with the winner, it's going to feel like your vote's not going to matter if there's millions of people that are involved.
Right.
If you're trying to like make choices in the middle of an episode, if millions of other people are doing the opposite thing, it's not going to feel like it's going to matter. And they don't seem to really understand that. That ever really comes out in any of the interviews that I've seen during this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that may not seem like all that much, right? But for Genvid, you're simply not seeing the bigger picture, though, Alex.
Uh-huh.
You see, Miles isn't just for letting people make some decisions in a live game, but rather it's a central pillar for viewing entertainment in the metaverse.
Oh, and there it is.
That's right, Alex. Miles are going to be integral to the metaverse.
I'm going to be fascinated in maybe 10 years from now, maybe 5 years from now, maybe next year when we get the retrospectives of how completely destructively disruptive the metaverse was to the entire tech industry.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
Nothing, obviously, Facebook wanted the metaverse to be disruptive and uproot the tech industry, but not in the way it has.
Yeah.
The number of initiatives and projects and companies that were launched to ultimately die and fall to rubble on the foundation of the metaverse that just did not materialize is like staggering.
Yeah. I mean, just look at like the billions of dollars that like Facebook had to write down because of all this. Like, yeah, and like they like took like a significant hit in their, if I remember correctly, they took a significant hit in their stock. And like, I mean, obviously they're still an incredibly profitable company that's outside influence, but like even they were like rocked by this, by the just the level of failure that the metaverse was. It still continues to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially dead nowadays in
Pretty
many ways.
much.
Like there's a few companies still keeping it alive. One of them is Genvid, by the way. But for the most part, people have just went, maybe this actually isn't the future of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's but at this point, which is like 2016 to 2019, they are convinced that, listen, we got to get in on the ground floor, and we have to be the product that will allow Genvid to help put the meta in metaverse.
It reminds me of Destiny and other games as a service, particularly looter shooters, but just in general games as a service, where everyone, it basically all of the creators signed on, but none of the consumers.
Yeah.
Every company was convinced this is the next gold mine, but there was not even a single, like, success case.
There wasn't.
To push it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that it was a lot of starry-eyed developers trying to get in on, like, the newest gold rush.
Yeah.
Because, like, Facebook was pushing it so hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of people with VC money who just don't understand video games or the entertainment industry just deciding to gamble. Because they're, like, being like, oh, well, you can just go to, like, a virtual Walmart and pick up virtual groceries.
Right.
And it's like, listen, that's actually been done before.
Yeah.
And it was a horrific failure back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Like, there's the famous example of like people trying to put together like a physical version of like the Windows desktop that you could walk around and interact because it'd be more immersive, and how that was actually the dumbest thing in the world because it just slows things down.
Right.
Like, and it makes it actually the experience of buying those things demonstrably worse. And like, but they didn't like understand that. They figured like, no, people are going to want to do this. People are going to want to feel like they're in there.
Right.
And it's like pretty much every consumer was like, no, we don't actually. Like we see how first off, like the barrier of entry is incredibly high. And even when we get in there, it's like, wait, these are the experiences we're having?
Yeah.
Like, how does this just replace me just going to like Amazon on a web browser?
Yeah. It doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. Yeah, it's the Metaverse was a very terrible idea, and it continues to be terrible.
Yep.
But right at this point, once again, Genvid is convinced Miles is going to be what's going to help democratize and bring live events to the burgeoning Metaverse. And Jacob Navick goes into this theoretical importance of Miles for the future of entertainment in a podcast by Alexander Fernandez called Video Games Real Talk, posted on December 17th, 2021. In it, he defines the Metaverse as the successor to the internet. Let me be very upfront. These people are so into the Metaverse. Now, he says the Metaverse will be virtual worlds that will constantly persist and be at a massive scale. The Metaverse will allow you to go beyond the limits of connectivity, be an internet rendered in a 3D space, and that in itself will just be the inevitable evolution from what we have today. Now, he cites that this is inevitable because he looks at the younger generations and how they are spending more time in virtual spaces, such as Fortnite and Roblox, and how they're like doing things like hosting like virtual concerts in there that people are having experiences and enjoying themselves in. And he speculates that will only increase. Now, Miles will be the framework that will eventually allow all this to happen once the Metaverse really gets off the ground. He mentions that right now, from a technological perspective, they're not anywhere near what the Metaverse truly will be. There are multiple times in multiple interviews that either he or somebody else at Genvid will mention the Matrix.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And how that eventually they'll get there, but Miles will be built now so that eventually it can kind of slot in and serve that function and what the Metaverse eventually will have be. So to further describe how into this they were, we switch over to an interview that Chris Cataldi gave to Achim Fehrenbach in the German publication International Games Magazine, published on August 2021, to explain what all this means. According to Chris, Miles meet the criteria for a Metaverse product due to the following factors. First, the Metaverse will be persistent. That is, it never resets, pauses, or ends. Rather, it continues indefinitely. Second, it'll be synchronous and live, a living experience that could exist continuously for everyone and in real time. Third, there'll be no cap limit for concurrent users in the Metaverse, while also providing each user with an individual sense of presence. Fourth, it'll be a fully functioning economy. Individuals and businesses will be able to create, own, invest, sell, and be rewarded for a wide range of work that produces value. Fifth, the Metaverse will be an experience that spans both the digital and physical worlds, private and public networks and experiences, and closed platforms. Sixth, it will offer unprecedented interoperability of data, digital items, and assets, as well as content and other things. And seventh, the Metaverse will be populated by content and experiences operated by an incredibly wide range of contributors. Now, Cataldi mentions that Miles already meets all of these points except for 4 and 7. So it's not a fully functioning economy, and the Metaverse is not populated by content and experiences operated by an incredibly wide range of contributors. But every other one, they do.
So, God, it is like these people have never heard of Second Life.
Right?
We tried this already.
That is the running thing about this, Alex. The running theme about everything they're going to do in this is it has already been done before and has either been successful and then failed or just failed outright. Like the entire thing behind like Silent Hill Ascension, honestly, has already been done with Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
There is that. Their whole thing about like esports and whatnot has already been done.
Yeah.
like with the developers putting the tools in there.
It's already been done by esports.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then everything like with Miles and how it's going to integrate in the metaverse is for a product and experience that has already been done by Second Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already been done. The results have already bore out. You could take a look at it and determine whether or not you should actually get into this or not. And it seems like they've ignored it. It's insane to me.
Absolutely ignored it. So those criteria he was talking about, what exactly are those?
So the criteria are like basically what is a metaverse product in relation to the metaverse and how does Miles beat those criteria. And in fact, here, I'll just go down and use like Silent Hill Ascension of like their current, most recent like Miles product and tell you like which points it meets and not, right?
Okay.
So point number 1, Miles are persistent and continue indefinitely. That is not true for Silent Hill Ascension. It's planned to run 6 months. 2, Miles are synchronous and live. This is sort of true, but once again, the experience does eventually end.
Right.
3, there's no cap for concurrent users. This is true, but there isn't on Twitch or YouTube either. Or at least no perceivable cap. You know, there's server caps and whatnot. But,
right.
As mentioned, it doesn't meet 4.
Right.
5, it'll be an experience that spans both the digital and physical worlds. This is true, but technically all digital experiences have the ability to do this. If I go and tell somebody about a cool game I'm playing or get scared playing a horror game, I have already accomplished this.
Right.
6, as far as I know, none of this is on the blockchain, and you cannot use items in Silent Hill Ascension in anything else. And 7, they actually might maybe already beat 7. It depends if you think that the viewer is a contributor via doing puzzles or voting. But given these contributions are rarely ever clear on an individual basis, I'm not sure it meets that either. So yeah, no, it's all bullshit.
Right. So are these criteria from Facebook or did Genvid invent these?
Okay, so there is this guy by the name of Matthew Ball who's like he's a venture capitalist and evangelist for the metaverse who's worked pretty closely with Jacob Navick to put out a primer about the metaverse. And my understanding is Chris Cataldi was referencing that in describing a metaverse product.
This sucks.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Everything about the metaverse is a scam.
It is. It is 100% a scam.
Layers of scam artists working off of each other's scams to make up more bullshit to get more money from other people who are then going to make up more bullshit. Like, it's not even, this is the thing. It's not even scamming consumers. It's just scamming each other.
Yeah, because none of these products sell.
No, the consumers look at it and go, nah.
Yeah, they go like, nah, we're good. But then, like, we'll get into this next episode. It is enough to like convince like really dumb VC companies to part with their money.
Yeah, and that is all the metaverse ever accomplished. Is launching initiatives on venture capitalism money to convince other venture capitalists to pay them money.
Yep. Yeah, just parting fools with their money, which the tech industry, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so I kind of want to like bring up that list because like that list seems like nonsense, and it sort of is.
It is, and it has nothing to do with anything.
It doesn't. But that's what they're referencing in terms of their framework for Silent Hill Ascension. So it's like, all right, cool. Let's see how this product meets these criteria. And it's like, oh, wow, it doesn't meet like the vast majority of it. So, like, what even is this?
But also, like, is every metaverse product supposed to meet all of those criteria?
I guess theoretically, yes.
Because that's putting awfully stringent restrictions on what a metaverse product can be. Like, that's the kind of language that you write for a cult.
Yep. Which, I mean, to be fair, like a lot of things with Web3, there's some very culty behavior that's associated with it. Yeah. Like it was like when I like saw this and like looked at Beyond Games and saw that it was basically just like, hey, we're talking about Web3, blockchain, AI, all the buzzwords that the tech industry has been pulling out, all the different little things that they jump from one thing to a next in order to, once again, scam money out of each other. That was like, okay, wow, yeah, so this is the company that's behind Konami's first first big real product that they're publishing. Like, that's the crazy thing about it. This is the first thing, to my knowledge, that they've published.
Yeah, I guess this probably did beat the Metal Gear HD collection to market.
It might have. I mean, at the very least, they're close enough to each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, so seeing that and seeing this company behind it, I'm like, okay, wow, I have to explore this more.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, Konami's grand return to doing anything of cultural note is, let's hire this Metaverse loyalist scam company to make a terrible TV show out of our most mismanaged franchise.
Yep. Match made in heaven. So, this interview didn't stop there, by the way.
Okay.
So, funny thing. So, because Cataldi mentions that Miles have already met these points once again, except for 4 and 7. And he also mentions how Miles could bring great value to esports as well.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it turns out they didn't drop that chestnut completely.
Of course not.
But the difference is, instead of like having companies like make use of their tools, viewers would make use of them to do things like cheer for their favorite esports team or customize how they viewed the playfield, from moving the camera around to displaying stats on screen. I've actually seen one of their demonstrations they use with CSGO, and it's a lot of like, okay, you can have like 9 windows up of like different viewpoints and like put stats up and move the camera around and like do all sort of stuff. And like, he wants this sort of stuff because he hopes it would bring the equivalent of like home field advantage that can be felt by players to either inspire or demoralize them in the same way fans in real world stadiums impact games.
Isn't that awful?
I mean, I think fan interaction is actually a really cool thing. Here's the thing, Alex. Like everything else, it's already been done.
Yeah.
Crowd control exists. Like the ability for viewers to influence a game somebody is playing already happens. Like Games Done Quick actually has done like races between competitors where crowd control actually a factor in order to raise donations. Like they've already done that. The ability to cheer for your favorite team and have people know about it.
Right.
That's Twitch chat.
Yeah, you can just put the Twitch chat on another monitor.
Yeah, that's already been solved. And probably the most galling thing is like, well, you know, viewers can give themselves a better experience by being able to get the optimal camera angle and whatnot. It's like, well, you're just offloading that work to the viewer now. Like, one thing that like makes like football broadcasts or basketball broadcasts really great is that there's people behind the scenes who have like worked on this forever and figured out the optimal way to view these angles. Have leveraged technology in order to make that better. Not by being like, well, give you like 12 camera angles and like the viewer can like switch between them or whatnot.
Right. Yeah, more is not better for this. What is better is, again, professional event camera people who know how to do this well. Yeah,
exactly. And so like when I heard that, I was like, it's so misguided.
It is.
I see where they're coming, but here's the thing. I see where they're coming from with this. I see where they're coming from with every single one of these ideas.
Right.
It's just, it seems like they just didn't realize that this has all been done before.
It has. Like, even custom controlled viewpoints. Like, if you go into any multiplayer shooter, you can spectate and move the camera around yourself. Guess what? It sucks.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and like it works great for like the esports scene because once again, you could have capable people spectate and and move the camera around. But like on an individual basis, it's just kind of like whatever. You can't be aware of where everyone is at any given time, and even if you could, like, who's the guarantee that you're going to be able to set up the optimal shot?
Right.
Yeah, it's a silly idea. So that is our explanation of what Miles is. Let me tell you what Miles actually is. It's a browser-based framework where viewers can watch an experience and occasionally influence what's going on, either by switching viewpoints, doing puzzles outside of the viewing experience, voting on actions as they pop up, or occasionally doing inputs to possibly affect something going on. Otherwise, you're just largely watching the action. It's actually a lot of the lean-back experience of just watching.
Right. Okay. Once again, a lot of this just sounds like Twitch.
It kind of does. Or like a Telltale adventure game, except a lot of people are playing at the same time, except with the innovation of not actually having to buy the game yourself because it's all handled on Genvid servers. That is the one thing I will give them. You don't have to buy a product in anything they have put out. It is all handled on Genvid servers, and I don't believe it. I don't know if it offloads any of the computing power onto your computer. I can't guarantee that part.
Okay, so that is nice. That's very pro-consumer. How do they make money?
We will get into how they do that with Silent Hill Ascension. I'll tell you, it's a battle pass.
Okay, there it
For
is.
their other games, it's advertiser revenue because a lot of their games are going to be on Facebook. Yep.
Isn't internet-based advertiser money extremely unreliable and fickle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Which is probably why this most recent one is not on Facebook and is using a battle pass.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to tell you about the battle pass. Speaking of ideas that are well past being cooked. So yeah, that's what Miles is. It's this sort of framework that theoretically has the innovation of being handled off your computer, and also the innovation of taking those impactful choices you could potentially make in, say, like the Telltale's The Walking Dead or Wolf Among Us that like persists among games and experiences, and taking them out of your hands because, spoilers, since there's hundreds or thousands of people also making these choices, there's a decent chance your choice isn't going to matter at all.
Right.
So what we have here is a framework or technology that's attempting to solve problems that have already long been solved, in some cases better than what they're going to try to do here, all in order to get on the ground floor of a theoretical future internet that at the moment simply doesn't exist and may never exist. And even if they did have a vision for the future of connectivity and entertainment, I'm not sure people really are all in on it. I think anybody who's plugged into the space as a consumer is probably very skeptical of what this can actually provide for them because, well, it seems all pointless. But you know who isn't? Venture capitalists.
Yep.
Because this is going to be a winning idea in their eyes, given that Genvid is going to raise a total of $166 million in funding, including their most recent round in 2021, where they raised $113 million alone. That particular round came off the success of the first ever Mile project, a project called Rival Peak. And next time, Alex, we're going to talk about what Genvid has actually produced. Wait. Do you know what Rival Peak is?
I'm pretty sure I know that game. I'm pretty sure I saw that one. That was... Oh, no.
Yeah, buddy.
No.
Rival Peak is terrible.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I cannot wait to tell you about that game and the sleight of hand that they did with the statistics and that. As we talk about Rival Peak, all the rest of the stuff that Genvid has done, and ending with the ongoing disaster that is Silent Hill Ascension. Alex, how you feeling right now?
Technology sucks.
Yeah, man. Makes you want to be a farmer, doesn't it?
It really does. Just like, early 90s, there was so much potential for home computers and the internet and connectivity. And then we hit it, and it just brought out all of our worst tendencies.
It really did. It's
just like, we can just be uninhibited bastards right here.
Yep. I remember getting onto my Sega Dreamcast and getting onto the internet for the first time and downloading a little trailer to my VMU for Code Veronica and being like, wow, man, the future is limitless, the internet. And now we are constantly being served up ads on our phone at just a rate that is both consistently terrifying and also unwanted. It's wonderful.
And we just burn through money and people and products and fire people and invest in stupid ideas and build the future on sand. And you know what? Code Veronica wasn't even that good.
No one talks about it anymore nowadays. I wonder why.
Even Capcom skipped it, and they even remade 3.
Yep, they did. Yeah, it's amazing that the body count that tech has, and how it's going to continue to have an ever-increasing body count. At the very least, I will say this about Genvid. I don't think they have a body count. In fact, I don't even think that the people in charge of it are necessarily bad people. Like, Jacob Navik seems to be actually pretty down on cryptocurrency in general.
Okay.
Like, when people say, like there was an interviewer who was like, "Hey man, like what do you think about like the metaverse applications of crypto?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's not a metaverse product. Yeah, I'm sure with that." But yeah, like they just seem like horrifically misguided, which I think is what makes this a little bit more fun to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, like I don't want to like slack them too hard, but this is a really dumb product.
Yeah, that's fair. We can cut them a little slack. Hey, you know who I won't cut any slack? Epic Games. Boy, Facebook sure lost a lot of money on that stupid metaverse idea that's crumbling down around their heads.
Mm.
You know what would be a really good idea if we made our own one? Fortnite isn't making as much money. Let's throw all our company into something that's a bad idea.
Yep. Yeah, I forgot how big Epic was into the metaverse until I went to Matthew Ball's like about page, and he has like a bunch of quotes about like people who have referenced his work and whatnot. And yeah, there's one from Tim Sweeney that's on there.
Oh, Tim loves it.
Yep.
He's so in.
He is so in, and he will never not be in. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's that quote page is actually like really funny too, because like let me see if I can bring it up, because some of the quotes on there are like, really, you're gonna put that up there? Let's see. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, one of the quotes he has is actually from Mark Rain, the co-founder of Epic Games, which is kind of funny. But the quote is just, this is one of the best business articles I've ever read. It's like, which article?
Oh,
what article? I don't...
Yeah.
He's written many articles. Like, yeah, so it's like really like weird ones on here that are just like, okay, sure. Like the one from the New York Times is Matthew Ball, a venture capitalist and prolific essayist. Like, not that he's good at it or anything like that, or bad. Just he's prolific. He puts out a lot of essays.
He's done a lot.
Yeah, it's it's fun. Yeah, the quote page is so much fun. But yeah. So yeah, I cannot wait to talk to you about all the different little products in there and what their honest end goal is, because it turns out they do have an end goal with all of this, and it is very cynical. So look forward to that next episode. But yeah, Alex, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I think that was it. Epic's Metaverse is going to be a stupid idea. Unreal Engine 5 better be really good, because they're going to lose a lot of fucking money on that. Unreal
Engine 5 is so cool.
It's so cool.
I love the way that they have like streamlined like lighting and reflections in that, like kind of like take the burden off of like people doing ray tracing. Like their Lumen stuff is so cool.
Yep.
And yeah,
no, amazing engine, fucking terrible garbage company.
Yeah, everything else around it is on fire.
Everything else Epic does actively ruins the video game industry. Like actually, literally makes it a worse industry.
I'm going to be really interested to see like what their like Fortnite Lego project actually ends up doing.
Because it's got, like, I've seen some of it. It's interesting if you like Minecraft.
Yeah, it seems like it's like just heavily like Minecraft.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm sure it's going to do well for them. I have like no doubt about that. But like, I wonder how well. Like, would that actually take any sort of chunk out of Minecraft? I'm like not really sure.
Yeah, Minecraft also has like a huge head start in that space.
Yep. Yeah, the game that has sold the most copies, like, ever. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, but yeah, like, it'll also be interesting to see, like, how much, like, more, like, Metaverse stuff comes out over the next year or so, because, like, I thought, like, most of it was dead, and I was waiting for Genvid to have pivoted away from that, but no, as of August of this year, like, Navik was like on like a podcast talking about the potential of the metaverse, so they're still in on it.
Like, the problem is the money's already been spent, and there's nothing to do but bring a product to market and see what happens.
Yep. Well, Alex, thank you for doing this with me as always.
Of course.
And for you, the viewer, if you want to listen to other episodes of Fallin Thru Plotholes, you should go to ftp.podbean.com or search for Fallin Thru Plotholes on your podcast service of choice. Leave us a like and review. check us out on our YouTube page. That's also Fallin Thru Plotholes. And if you have any additional comments, you could also send them to our email address, fallinthruplotholes@gmail.com, which will be in the description of both this episode and the YouTube episode. You should tell us about your favorite Metaverse product. Was it the one where you could just go and buy like land and basically decorate it and make like a Mario house? Was it? Actually, you know what? Better yet, tell us about your Second Life avatar. Because let's be honest, you didn't bother with anything in the Metaverse.
No.
You probably were too busy playing Second Life and being like basically an emo unicorn or something similar. You know, being Macho Man Randy Savage, except like crossed with like some other dark Macho Man Randy Savage. There we go. Tell us about that. That's going to be far more interesting because you're probably far more creative than the suggestions I've come up with.
I was a Soul Reaper from Bleach.
Oh, were you? Nice.
Yeah.
And
I had the black robes. I think I had a big sword.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Why wouldn't you?
My favorite thing about that is that you could be like airplanes. Like you could be like an A10 Warthog, and then you could do things like twerk as an A10 Warthog.
Mm-hmm.
Which was just so good. God, Second Life was cool.
Second Life was great.
I will defend it.
Second Life and VR chat are in that same space of like Metaverse will never ever achieve this because Metaverse is safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very, very safe. Whereas, they're willing to do whatever the hell they want in VR chat, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, same with Second Life. Absolutely willing to do that. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Alex, once again, thank you, and take care of everybody.
Take care.